Hello and welcome to Let's Pod This, friends. Welcome back. My name is Andy Moore. I am your host, and my co-host, Dr. Emily Stacy, is here. Welcome back.
Hi.
You were out of town last week.
And I'm going to be out of town next week. We'll talk about that afterwards.
Oh, that's okay. Great. Summertime is a little busy for everybody.
It is. It's crazy.
Especially in election years if you work in politics.
Indeed.
It's been kind of a weird week. And in some ways, you know, last week we had the president's speech about election security, alleged insecurity. Although it seems like it went over about like a turd in the punch bowl.
Yeah, the Republicans are tired of him bringing this up, right? It's a wackadoodle theory. How many cases did they lose in federal court?
All of them.
All of them. Fox News had to pay, right, the election.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Ridiculous amounts of money because they could not prove that this was an actual thing. And yet we're still having this conversation. I mean, and it's a scare tactic, but I think that it works against Republicans, honestly. And I think that's why the party, you know, those dyed-in-the-wool conservatives are really concerned about the commentary, right? Because these folks have traditionally, trusted our voting system. Mail-in votes consistently are always coming out. And so, to have a president sit up there and say that our election integrity is gone, right? It's diminished. We don't have it, is incredibly worrisome. And I think that it discourages more conservatives or Republicans from coming out to vote than Democrats. Democrats are like, okay, grandpa, okay, go read Hannah Arendt and calm down, right?
Well, yes, you're exactly right.
It's so
funny. We, listeners, as a quick aside, now that we're already into it,
sorry,
we don't have a plan. We have three things top of mind, I think, maybe four things we're going to talk about. The first is the president's speech, which we have not discussed yet, other than to say it was a little bit nuts.
Seriously.
But I think it's worth talking about, not because he was correct about anything, but because he was wrong about everything.
Everything.
And so I think that is the lead that gets lost in this. So let's come back and talk about election security briefly.
Please.
Let's talk about State Representative Danny Williams, who is under investigation by his caucus, at least, not by law enforcement at this time.
At this point.
But that news came out yesterday.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk, maybe if we have time, a little bit about alternately certified teachers, although I would love to have someone from the education community come and talk about that as well.
We should expand upon that one. But yes, let's touch on the stats because they're jarring right before the school year begins.
And then anything else that tickles our fancy.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, well, let's go back to the president. So he gave this speech.
Let's get back to it.
We'll say in prime time, so in the evening, but almost no news stations carried it live.
No.
Did Fox News carry it live?
Yeah, I think so.
At least part of it, but I think they may have not done the whole thing.
No, I think they cut into it, or cut out of it, one of the two.
So just on that alone, right? It is when the president chooses to speak to the American public, it used to be reserved for once a year, basically, or every other year, like for us.
Yeah, unless there's an emergency or, right.
Or for actual emergencies and like a big deal.
Right.
Now, we know that President Trump is like frequently calling into TV, cable news stations.
Yes.
He's
the most accessible president in modern history.
Right.
Let's just say that.
Right. Yeah. He launched an entire social media platform, Truth Social, to give him a way to speak directly to the public.
And now he's monetizing his content because...
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
good
that's
time
right.
By everybody. Anyway.
He's found another way to build another revenue stream to himself.
Yes.
He is a servant of the people, yet seeks to enrich himself and his family.
That's in the Constitution, by the way. There's a moments clause. There's a whole clause about that. Anyway, moving on.
There's so many...
Sorry. We're going to rant today, people.
Things that I hope we return to on norms after this presidency. But anyway, to his speech itself.
Yeah.
So it was a bit rambly. It was his typical speaking style.
Yes.
Which is not my preferred style. But he talked about fraud in past elections as a way to cast doubt on this election.
Yes.
Even though he's not on the ballot.
He is not, but he understands that the party is flailing.
Yes, and he also used it as a platform to call on Congress to pass the Save America Act, which he has been doing more and more vocally lately. However, it seems like from all reports I've heard, it is not going anywhere.
No. And even if it did before, it's not going to impact anything in November.
Right. It couldn't even be implemented in time.
Right. So.
Right. And would be blocked by the courts almost immediately. There's a bunch of provisions.
Yes, sir.
And then, along with the speech, the president or his administration released a bunch of records. Now, these records were previously classified.
Right.
They were heavily redacted.
As usual.
And so there's a lot of stuff we just don't know. But even of the data that is open and not redacted, it did not support what he said.
At all. No.
There was nothing in those records that supported there had been any actual interference in elections. He, verbally casts disparitions or tries to cast doubt on, maybe the Chinese, maybe the Russians, all this stuff happening.
Right.
But there's actually
not at all.
None of that. The intelligence community has not found that.
No.
You know who actually does meddle in foreign elections? America. We do it in like South America. We have a long history of meddling in other people's elections.
That's okay.
And part of the deal, right, is that American election systems is a very fragmented system.
It is, yes, absolutely, right. Even though we passed legislation after, the botched election of 2000, the 2002 Help America Vote Act, which allocated hundreds of millions of dollars to make a unified system, right, to get everyone, all 50 states on electronic ballots. That's right. It's still not been complied with in all 50 states.
That also tells me a little bit about the .com bubble back then, right? In the year 2000, friends remember the year 2000, you may or may not have had a cell phone back then. It was probably, it was a Nokia.
It was a boy,
a big Nokia brick. Reliable as hell.
It was.
And the internet was just a big green pasture. It was a beautiful space.
It was.
And and much like the conversation about AI right now, people believed that we are on the precipice of this massive technical revolution that would change every aspect of life. And indeed,
right,
it largely has over the last 26 years.
Right.
But this is an election where people were voting with punch cards,
exactly.
like those, the dangling Chad.
The hanging Chads. I love this story.
And
my favorite story.
And so it was a very antiquated system of voting.
It was. I have to tell you something.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, viewers. I met Mary Kate Carey whenever I was just in D.C. last week. She's Daddy Bush's speechwriter.
Oh, that's cool. For George H.W. Bush?
She told me so many great stories, and I'm going to have to tell you off record because it's so good. But sorry, you talking about 2000 and the W. Anyway, it sparked something. Because Remind me.
Yeah, so 2000 was George W. Bush and Al Gore. And so it was the equivalent of people voting with like those 1970s era punch card computers.
Right.
Because some states didn't even have like Scantron technology yet, even though we used it in schools. But it was a system earlier than that.
Yep.
And so most states now have moved to a system that use at least optical scan, like a scan, which is what Oklahoma does.
Right.
They're very secure because there's a paper ballot.
Right.
So even if all of the scanners went down, we could still hand count ballots.
Exactly. Yes.
Look at them. Did they bubble in the box? Yes. Okay. And and have an actual physical record for the ballots. And that's the way most states do it.
Right.
A few have all electronic, like a touch screen.
Right. Exactly.
That doesn't generate a paper ballot.
Right.
And those are the ones people are most concerned about.
Yeah. Or will argue are most vulnerable. Yeah.
Right. Even though there's been tons of recounts.
Right.
There's been on those systems they put in extra safeguards to combat those same narratives. Right. And as you said earlier, lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, I think 30 something lawsuits now that all of them have been thoroughly investigated. There have been recounts upon recounts by different groups, by partisan groups, by people who work for the president. None of those have found any evidence of widespread voter fraud. In fact, they've only found like a couple of ballots, like a few random here and there things that would not have affected the outcome of anything.
Yeah. It was interesting. So after the wackadoodle speech, which cannot be verified through facts or empirical evidence, you did have the breaking news out of New Jersey that you had some 4,000 I think voters who were mistakenly registered, who were non-citizens, right? And so even though that's
registered but
not voted, again, and this is still a a decimal of a percent, of humanity who is registered to vote in even the state of New Jersey, but it lends credence to that wackadoodle speech, unfortunately.
Well, and it is honestly proof that the system works because the system has all these safeguards, and the safeguards are how they found those.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that they got into the system.
Yeah.
I don't know how that was an accident,
Right.
but the system caught it, which is the whole
Yeah.
point.
Right.
And so I know people will say, but what if they hadn't caught some?
Exactly.
No, but
and
they-
that's
they
what
do.
that's the lending credence that I mentioned.
That's
I
why
think
this
that
works. Yeah.
right, unfortunately, because perception is reality, and it's like, oh, he said to watch out for this, and here they are in New Jersey, right?
Right.
And that's a liberal state, and
Right.
I mean, it just
Right.
if you want to make those red thread connections, those red yarn Charlie connections,
Yeah.
you can make them.
Yeah.
And so I think that was an unfortunate moment of timing.
It is. Well, and I think it was unfortunate timing, but I, in some ways, was glad because we were already
Sure.
talking about it.
Yeah.
And what you saw after this speech last Thursday was that many states, including here in Oklahoma, the state elections officials
Yes.
had to come out
Yeah.
and make statements to clarify, like, hey.
Yeah. Xerox, he doesn't
Yeah.
play around.
No, he did.
Thank God.
They did a press release.
Love
they did a
that
whole
guy.
press conference where they walked through exactly how everything works in Oklahoma to remind voters, and that's what we're doing today as well.
Right.
Is to say, like, Oklahoma has gold standard elections, paper ballots, optical scan, not connected to the internet,
Right.
audits
Period.
that we do
Yes.
on this stuff. Like, all the things are there.
Right.
Everything runs very smoothly.
We might be 49th in lots of things, but it's not election security.
Right. Yeah. Doing
At the very
top
least.
10 state. Right
We
there.
are, yes, a top 10 state in election
Happy
security.
to celebrate it when it's true.
One of the things.
And so, it's real funny. I might wish that we had a few things differently about our elections. Like, I want open primaries.
Sure.
As do,
Same.
tens of thousands of my neighbors. But that's not a security issue.
No.
That's like a
that's
structural
Yeah, that's
thing.
a preference, yeah.
Even if we had open primaries, the elections would work the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Same paper ballots,
Yeah.
same machines, all
Absolutely.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, that's how we do our municipal elections, which use all the same stuff.
Yep.
And so, to see Paul Xerax, the election board secretary, have to come out and
Again.
Again.
This is what, the second time this year? Didn't he wasn't he on Capitol, did he go to Capitol Hill earlier this year?
oh, maybe. I mean, we
I
had
feel
someone,
like
he might
somebody-
have, and we had someone from the election board speak at CivicsCon about
yeah,
this. We, there has been, because this has been in the news so much. I know he's been on the news
Yeah.
discussing this and speaking to the legislature
Yeah.
about some of these things too.
Yeah, very interesting.
And it makes a job that is already really hard that much harder.
Well, you're politicizing a job that doesn't need to be politicized.
Right.
Nobody, I mean, no disrespect, but nobody needs to know Paul Xerax's name.
Right.
Because shit's working.
Right.
We only need to know his name if shit's not working.
Right.
Right. And so, yeah, it's politicizing something that should not be the process, right? Shouldn't be political.
Right.
Right. The act of actually casting your ballot, that should not be a political thing.
Right.
And so whenever he fires, he being President Trump, folks in the Federal Election Commission, right, for doing their jobs in an bipartisan, unpartisan, right, nonpartisan is the word I'm looking for, fashion, that should be disturbing because what kind of commissioners are going to replace those folks, right? And these are Republicans and Democrats on the FEC. It's typically well balanced, or by law it's well balanced. But again, what kind of mentality, is going to replace that?
Well, and I think the public voters
Worries me.
voters don't want FEC members to be drifting towards looser regulations.
No.
What we actually want is people who are going to come in and uphold the law as
Right.
it is and look for ways to reduce corruption.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point.
And to keep the federal government out of the election process. This is
Right.
a state-governed process
Right.
for a reason.
Right.
Don't get me on a soapbox. I'm just saying, there should be very limited interference from the federal government in the state
Right.
with the process of
Right.
elections.
Right.
Period.
Because by not having them involved, you actually improve the security
Yes.
of the whole.
And so when Trump does these big moves like this and puts the federal government's tentacles into our electoral processes, that is the federal government reaching down into your state and telling you
Right.
how the processes should go. You should be concerned about this. I don't care if you voted for Trump or not, like him or not. This is precedent, right?
Right.
We're setting a standard that's going to continue until somebody undoes that.
Right.
Which in politics is really difficult to do.
Right.
Right? I don't know. You got me in a soapbox.
It's
I'm
so
concerned.
funny. No, I'm with you because I'm not someone who is necessarily considered a federalist in many ways.
Sure.
Like there are things where people claim states' rights that
Right.
drive me bananas.
Sure. Same.
I don't know why we have 50 different driver's licenses. I think we should have one.
Sure.
It just makes sense. We drive everywhere. Why, they're issued by each state, but shouldn't the whole process be the same? Does it really matter? No, it doesn't really matter. It's a thing. But I think when it comes to elections, for this very reason, that most elections are local, right? It's school board and city council and your county commissioner and all this stuff. There's a few federal offices.
Sure.
Right, which is like the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and that's about it. Yeah. And so the federal government, just by that, doesn't need to be very involved.
No,
you have nothing to do with who I'm electing for county assessor or whatever. That's a us thing.
Yes,
and
it is.
By keeping them out, what the Fed should do is make Election Day a holiday.
Don't. Again, this is a soapbox for me.
That's the government overreach I want to see.
Don't understand. We are the only industrialized democracy, period, Western capitalist democracy, that does not feature Election Day as a bank holiday. You don't do shit in the United Kingdom or the Commonwealth on Election Day except for go vote.
Right. I think we should advocate for this at the state level. We could do it at the state level, right?
Yeah.
Don't some states have it?
Yeah.
I need to look this up. I'm going to add this to our policy platform.
Let's do it.
It's...
Bet.
I'm sure, who's going to be opposed to it? Business owners.
Are you kidding? Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
Who want to make some money.
People are, that's it. But also, why are we quibbling about your democratic obligation costing you money, right? Why am I having to decide as somebody who's working hourly that I'm going to stand in line in Noble, Oklahoma for 2 hours to vote versus going back, after my hour lunch break we have made participation in this country a luxury, and that is the problem.
Yeah, if any state legislators are listening to this show, let's talk. We would love to work with you, ideally all of you.
Yes, please.
In a dream world, there's 149 legislators who would say, okay, this makes sense.
It does, right? But, just like the daylight savings time, right? I can see this issue, right? Exactly, right? Who would disagree with that?
Right.
Well, people.
Everybody.
People.
Somebody
unfortunately,
would.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Well, okay. Still, legislators.
We love it.
Hit me up. Yes, you can email us at podcast@letsfixthis.org.
And we'll fix it.
Or just text me if you have my number. That's fine. Or Emily, for that matter. Let's go. Members of Congress, if you're listening as well, let's work at the federal level.
Please.
Stephanie Bice, Frank Lucas, Tom Cole, Langford. I know your office is not far. Let's go have coffee.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's make it happen. As if they could agree on anything. We can't even order coffee with these guys. That's part of the problem.
That is part of the problem.
Okay, well, so I think we've
thoroughly exhausted election.
Yes.
Yeah. We're concerned, and rightfully so. You've got so many elections. I get the emails from, All In and Civic Nation, et cetera, that list out all of the different state primaries and runoffs that are coming up, and I mean it's ridiculous how many folks are deciding, who is going to go to Washington, D.C. or who's going to, go to their state, governor's mansions, et cetera, just in the surrounding states. This is an important topic. And, the Voting Rights Act, we're not done, right? We're not done with the dismantling the Voting Rights Act. In fact, we need to still parse that. But an interesting article that I've seen recently is talking about the indigenous population, right? The Native American population being disenfranchised by the same Voting Rights Act that is, disenfranchising African Americans and other communities as well. So I don't know. I'm so befuddled and pissed off, and I need the semester to start so you
can distract from the horrors.
So I can distill my anger and into lectures.
There you go. So elections are good. They're fine. They're safe, secure. Tell your friends.
Yes, please.
And I think I struggle a lot with if I don't have anyone in my immediate family that we have this kind of conversation, but if someone was came to me and was all this stuff is corrupted, they're all rigged anyway. How do you talk to that person, right? If it's your dad or your uncle or whatever, and it's I get that it's hard. And sometimes I think the best approach that I have found is to not try to refute them
Yeah.
necessarily, because then it starts off as this
Yeah, it's
combative thing.
yeah.
But to say, oh, like where'd you
Tell me
hear
more.
Yeah, where'd you hear that?
Yeah,
And just
yeah,
let
yeah.
them say their piece.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And say, oh, okay. I think I can get where, hearing that would be real scary. And then just say, I saw this report and tell where you saw it. Like, well, I saw this report that there's all these, that a bunch of lawsuits or investigations and none of them actually found anything.
Right.
And that, there's been like almost every news outlet has done this comparison with what he said and the data he released, and it doesn't match up. So maybe he misread it. If you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, I don't think he earned it, but I think it may be a tactic to win over your uncle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, those are some ideas.
I love it.
Emily, let's talk about Representative Danny Williams.
Okay.
Have you read this story? It just came out last night that I saw it.
Yes.
And we're recording this on Friday, so it came out Thursday, the 23rd.
Indeed.
NonDoc reported that there's been a 6-week private investigation into, quote, serious allegations of, quote, improper behavior by Representative Danny Williams. And now it's being referred to the House Rules Committee for review and consideration of potential expulsion proceedings. That's the big deal. There has never been a member of the House expelled because they usually resign. Expelled, yes. I don't know. What's the past perfect or whatever?
That was great.
Yeah, so, but because they usually resign.
Right. Yes. And they don't drag this out, which I think is interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, we'll see what happens, but I'm now expecting him to resign. If it's that serious that they're publicly saying, we're going to discuss expelling him, that usually means...
Yeah, that you're going to walk, but he's been really cagey about it, right? Has been told not to say anything, and so he was incredibly tight-lipped with Trace or whoever from NonDoc. Reading that story, it gives vibes, and I made the glib pontification in our text message yesterday that it feels a little sexual. Coming off the Waldron stuff, you know what I mean? And so I don't know. Again, when we kind of went back and forth, you mentioned financials, which obviously has been an issue as well with a few folks. Usually we have at least some sort of numbers or usually some sort of receipt, expenditure reports, right? Our election security is good. So is our ethics commission. We've got a really great ethics commission. And so I don't know. I'm befuddled by this.
My hunches are it's either sexual, it's financial, or
both,
or both, or that it is misusing the power of the office in some way, and I'm not.
The number of witnesses that they said that they've entered, that's
weird.
It's weird. So it almost feels like there was a scene. You know what I mean? Like it feels like maybe there was
or it could be substance abuse. That was the other thing I was thinking, or some sort of addiction.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
And so, and they're
wanting to get a testimony of
right,
demeanor, and that's interesting.
And because Speaker Hilbert's office referenced some past situations with other members from years past. And so thinking back to, what happened with Representative Ryan Martinez, following his DUI, those kinds of things. I don't think that it's sexual. It could be if it's, I don't think it's not criminal.
I don't think it is either.
The DA's office is not involved.
Right. Reading further down in that NonDoc story, the wife had posted something to Facebook that seemed very... So I tend to agree with you on that. So I have given up my sexual vibe.
It could be that he's been accused of cheating on his wife and she is denying. We've seen that from... That's what happened with County Commissioner Miles Davidson recently, where his wife was really the first one that came... That was
that's right.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
What makes... So we don't know the details, and we're not trying to...
We're not speculating at all.
We're not speculating. We are, but we're not trying to spread rumors. The thing that makes this most interesting is that... One thing that makes this very interesting is that Representative Williams is up for re-election.
Right.
So it could be campaign finance, but it could also just... The thing that makes it... He's on the ballot, and he has a challenger.
Right.
And so he has a Democratic challenger, which is... the interesting piece, because often this happens during session. It's not during an election. You can appoint someone
and just move on.
So it's too late. If he resigned today, it's too late to appoint someone to finish out this term.
Right.
But there's also not a mechanism to put someone else on the ballot,
ballot.
in his place,
No.
right? So if he resigns from office and or chooses to pull out of this election,
Right.
then the
The
Democrat
Dem
wins.
Yeah.
The moment he pulls out.
Yes.
And that's wild. Mm-hmm. And I can understand where voters might be upset about that, honestly. I don't think Williams had a primary challenger that I'm aware of. I have to go back and look.
Yeah,
but
I can't remember.
But he could also resign from his current position, say nothing,
Yeah.
not campaign actively, but just remain on the
Ballot,
ballot,
right?
and then he might get reelected
Yeah.
in November
Yeah.
by voters who are unaware of this.
Which,
Certainly, the Democrats are going to talk about it a bunch.
yeah, they already are. Yeah.
But like, I don't know the partisan lean of that district, but like, it's feasible that he could just like leave his name on.
Absolutely. And squeak through. Absolutely. Yeah.
And still win.
I agree.
And then try to like come back and eat crow and just be like, I'm really sorry. I've spent the last 3 months doing whatever
yeah.
kind of counseling or whatever,
Right.
and I'm going to do better and move on.
be-
I think it depends on what the
That'd be wild.
what the offense is.
Right.
I mean, the fact that the speaker has already stripped him of all of his committee chairships.
Moved his office.
Moved his office up, and then
Yeah.
also I think banned him from using the Capitol for anything right now. So
Yeah.
like something.
It's sus.
It is sus. So I don't.
It's sus.
But it might be that the Dems pick up a seat here just by
Yes.
default.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, is great, but also really not a big change, right? It's not,
Oh, right.
a
There's still
hair
gonna
on
be
fire moment for the Republican
Republicans.
Party,
Right,
right?
right.
It's one more, it's 18, right? Or 19 now.
right.
Woo!
They'll still have a supermajority. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
But in the narrative, the fight for the narrative, I think it's compelling.
It is, right? So if it's sexual, I don't think after the Lackmeyer stuff, Laymeyer, I'm sorry, I always want to call him Lackmeyer. That stuff was so viscerally out there, kind of has faded away. So they've got a lot of different things. Right. Scandals that could come back, the Eccles stuff. If it's financial and campaign related, that could come back up into popular conversation as well.
Right.
Williams endorsed Maisie.
Oh, just the other day.
Yeah.
And the
Maisie
same day, I think.
was very excited to accept that endorsement. So whatever comes out of this is going to have reverberations.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Right. And then, depending on what it is, if there was any kind of attempted cover up, which obviously didn't work, but there is that. And so it'll be interesting to see if there is some reverberations or ramifications of this on other races. But it's, we talked a couple of weeks ago about Graham Plattner in Maine and seeing, and I have a lot of conversations this week with people about the state of politics today and the state of politicians and like who chooses to run, and honestly what voters feel about politicians. Politicians as a class have never been popular.
No.
But they are markedly less popular now.
Yeah.
And that I had a conversation with the other day with Scott Warren, who is the founder of Generation Citizen. He does some academic stuff at Johns Hopkins University now. And
I was just there.
We were talking about younger voters and this shift from, we are all familiar with the sentiment that, someone might say, my vote doesn't matter.
Right.
And they just mean like, and generally they say, my vote is not going to influence the outcome of the election. There's an outcome I would prefer, and I don't have a way to make that happen, is what I feel.
Yeah.
The shift that he sees in some of his work now is, especially for younger voters, although I think it extends for lots of folks, but it's not just that my vote doesn't matter, it's that voting doesn't matter. That I don't even see an outcome I would prefer.
Yeah.
All of these candidates or both of these candidates or whatever are inadequate
Sure.
and are insufficient or improper representatives of the needs of the people.
Fine.
And I was like, that is a subtle but very impactful shift as it spreads across the electorate.
I mean, sure. So as a political scientist, I feel like that's self-evident and like, duh. But also I feel like, say that last bit again. I had a whole diatribe.
Yeah, I can see you thinking too.
Like,
the shift from my vote doesn't matter to voting doesn't matter.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is part and parcel, of the questioning of election security. I feel like that is, I don't buy that bullshit. It's the apathy. It's the apathy
Right.
for me, and I feel like the older generation is keen to say that because they don't really want to reach out and touch my students. They don't want to talk about or don't know how to talk about issues that actually care
Right.
to my students. And
Right.
so it's much easier for older generations, the political party, vanguards, etc., to play boomer Gen X politics because that's what they know how to play. Those are the campaigns they know how to win. But oh shit, if I have to talk to an elder millennial, if I have to talk to a Gen Z
Right.
alpha, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what AI is, what is metadata, what is, right? All of these things that people care about. I feel like that is our fault as older folks, that we are not paying attention to the shit that kids and the future of our democracy are actually dealing with on the ground. Period.
Do you?
I don't know.
I don't disagree.
That was a whole ass rant, but
No,
also
I don't disagree,
Like
but-
I feel like putting the onus and the burden on the youth is a real shitty cop out. I feel like
Oh, yeah, I
we
don't-
need to do better as a civil society. I bitch about this all the time. We don't have a civil society anymore, which is why I'm so involved in civil discourse
Right,
work, right?
right.
Because the cornerstone of any democracy is a civil society, and the way to build a civil society is by having conversations,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Building that consensus. We cannot just throw rocks at one another or cancel one another. We have to have these hard conversations, and nobody is doing that with the younger generation.
Yeah.
So to just say, "Ma, these kids don't care." All right, Grandpa.
Right.
Go to bed.
That's
Sorry, I'm
interesting.
done. She's done now.
No, this is good, and I don't disagree. But do you think, Emily, that we, our generation,
Yeah.
as elder millennials,
We fucked it up. Yes.
well, but did we fuck it up any differently than every other generation before us? Here's what I just see this like a generational repetition,
Sure.
right? That I mean, every generation has said the kids today
Mm-hmm.
are disconnected. They don't want to work. It's like there's like the same complaints.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm living in one of those moments where I'm just watching all of us get older
Mm-hmm.
and become the generation who's complaining about the kids that we once were.
Mm.
And in 20 years or 30 years, when my kids,
Yeah.
our kids are our age, they will be complaining about their kids, right? And so I don't think anyone is trying to blame the youth necessarily, because like everyone has been
No,
like,
I'm not.
like-
It's socialization. It's us. I blamed us.
well, but when we were 20, our generation didn't really vote either.
I sure as fuck did. I was
Individually, yes, but as a generation, I don't think millennial turnout when we were all in our 20s and 30s was markedly
I mean, no, you're right. We had 2 terms of George W. Bush and then Obama. So yeah, absolutely, you're correct.
right. And so
That's fair.
like
It didn't get solidified until enough of our generation and the one above us, the Xers, got upset about the Iraq War, and that's really what fomented
Yes,
that
right,
change, right?
But I mean, we've just seen for decades, right, this general decline in civil society.
Yes.
The well documented by Neil Postman in books like Bowling Alone and the
Putnam, yeah.
Putnam. Yeah, when I say Postman,
I don't know. Yeah,
I
you're
did.
good.
Different book, also a good author. But yes, Robert Putnam.
Yeah.
What did Neil Postman write now? I'm going to have to
no
look it
idea.
up. Yes, Robert
You're very
Putnam.
good.
Someone is screaming at the radio. Send us an email at
Yes,
podcast. But those, I mean, this is like a cultural shift. It's
Yeah.
part of our societal norms is an irreverence for politics, which I think is healthy in many ways.
Yeah.
But I also think it has been compounded by social media and our increased like isolationism and like siloization of the media ecosystem.
Sure.
And that when you have an election system that across the board, you know, we see turnout in primaries in the mid 20s.
Right.
It was bad in Oklahoma, but
Yeah.
it's bad everywhere.
Right.
You know,
This to me still feels like a class-based issue. It feels like a societal class-based issue to me that we exacerbated.
Right.
That we continue to shake our fist at the sky, but what do we actually do to fix it? And of course, you and I are actively we're here doing these things, and I'm hopefully raising the next generation of democratic citizens in my classes,
But until it's properly invested in as a national cultural effort.
Man, God.
If we want reading scores to improve, we invest in literacy coaches and targeted strategy.
Or just paying teachers more.
Right. And including this kind of stuff in curriculums and shifting the levers of power in ways that we can to reward or incentivize certain types of behavior, right?
Sure.
Like if you want more shade in your city, you plant more trees.
Sure. Yes. Yes is the answer. I think, a lot of this goes back to my, normal rant about when we stopped really focusing on civic education and social studies, and kids are not learning about how to participate in their world until they're reaching a college classroom, right? This is not rocket science, man.
Right.
If you want a healthy democracy, teach the kids how to participate in a democracy.
Right. Make it easier to participate instead of passing laws to make it harder.
And again, I think the isolation and all of the social media and all of that. I think again, it's sort of a good excuse for us to be like, oh, okay, well, there's nothing we can do about this, so let's pat on the head and keep it moving and try to find some engaged folks. Even those, mouth-breathing children playing Warcraft, in their mom's basement have things that they care about. Yeah. Right? They can be engaged too. You just have to know how to piss them off, how to make them sad, how to, get that effective response. And they're going to be more likely to get out of that basement and vote or go sign an initiative petition or do something, right? I just think that there is a fundamental misunderstanding, and I talk about the identity crisis a lot, within, within the political party system. Mm-hmm. The parties don't know who the electorate is anymore. Again, going back to my generational rant, they don't know who we are as elder millennials, and they damn sure don't know who the alphas and the Xers, or I'm sorry, the Zers are. And that's becoming quite obvious. When AOC and Maxwell Frost, are the, youngest folks in the U.S. House of Representatives, that's concerning.
Right, because they're not they're not young whippersnappers,
30, right? Yeah, that's problematic, and I think we're moving in a better direction, but it's going to take a lot more stimulation, and it's not going to just be the job of the national parties to be doing those things. It's got to be grassroots. It's got to be local. It's got to be, that effective part has to be there. You have to reach out and touch these kids. They are not just going to care about the common good because we say that they should care about the common good.
Right.
This is different because they've not been socialized politically or civically in the same way that you and I have.
Right.
The older generations were fervently patriotic. They were fervently about the Pledge of Allegiance. Right. We were socialized in a completely different environment than these kids are now. It's wild.
It is wild
to think about.
That's very true. It is a fundamentally different environment. But it sounds like you're saying, and so correct me if I'm wrong, but like our generation's engagement with politics is somewhat in response to how our parents and grandparents engaged, right?
Oh, yeah.
And our response is in response to that, and we inadvertently have now helped shape an environment that is worse for the next generation.
Yes.
And so it is not they're growing up in the environment they did, and maybe the boomers created the environment we grew up in.
That's exactly right.
And if we don't like our response, our disaffection from civic life, that millennials and Gen Z might feel, we need to wake up.
Yeah.
Because we have a very narrow window in which we can begin to collectively reshape our society in a way that values these things.
And now's the time.
And it's hard because we're combating against our existential burnout that we all feel, and the cynicism that it was endemic to the Gen X and millennials, and that we are entering an era of our adulthood where we are more stressed. Yeah. Right. I was a report the other day that for our generations growing up, the quintessential feeling of growing up in the 80s and 90s was boredom. that like you had to wrestle with boredom. That was the thing you
Yeah.
had to overcome.
My kid doesn't know how to be bored.
No, it's not boredom. It's
Drives me
anxiety now,
fucking
right?
crazy. Yeah.
Generations now, the fundamental
Yeah.
thing they have to overcome is not boredom, but anxiety.
Yeah.
Neil Postman, ironically,
There you go.
he wrote the book in 1985, Amusing Ourselves to Death, which is it was written when I was a child and is still very prescient. We had to read it in undergrad.
Okay.
I go back and reread it again.
Yeah.
Because we are definitely amusing ourselves to death and like seeking entertainment as a salve, right? An escape from the horrors of the world.
Yeah.
And so instead of a sense of agency of there are bad things going on in the world and I have power to change them, we say there are bad things in the world. I
Hide
can't
me.
deal with that.
Yeah.
Hide me.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I think our generation is particularly, responsible for that. We're the trophy generation, right? Everybody gets a trophy and, we're all
There's someone
multicultural.
Yeah, but
and all the
someone's listening to
things.
this saying, but that's not our fault. It's our parents that gave us the
No,
trophies.
right. We didn't have to carry on this.
Right,
We didn't
we
have to
kept it
carry this
going.
on, right?
Right.
I don't know. I have problems with this.
That's so fascinating. Because then, Emily, we become the old people's, screaming about personal responsibility.
Oh, I'm always screaming about personal responsibility. Or that used to be the mantra of the Conservative Party.
That's what I'm saying.
Where did that go?
Right, that's what I'm
Oh
saying.
my God.
Life is so funny. Okay, well,
Full circle.
It is. This has been a good conversation. I feel a little convicted.
Yeah. Convicted.
Of
What are we convicted of?
like not convicted that way. Convicted like in a guilt sense.
Guilt. Oh, okay.
Like of the ways that I have not helped shape the society that we want to live in
We
adequately.
are trying, right?
I know it's like our job and we're trying and we're doing this podcast and our friends that are listening are also trying. But I think about my conviction is more about like how can I foster this sense of connection to justice.
Yeah.
Even in my own home, like with my kids,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like how can I help them? Like we're trying to change it systemically, right? Through policy change, through broad civic engagement opportunities, through voter education like this podcast, but also how can I make that change in my own household
Right.
with the people on whom I have the most impact?
Yeah.
That's what I'll be thinking about this weekend
I like it.
as we go watch the Odyssey and have broader discussions about
Yikes.
democracy and
truth and beauty and- yeah.
right, responsibility,
All the
personal
virtues.
responsibility. Yeah. Okay. Emily, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for letting me rant.
Of course. Listeners, thanks for being here as well. I hope this was interesting, informative, perhaps convicting to you as well. We do this podcast every week for you, and we hope that you will like it, leave a review if you're interested, but
Please.
more importantly, share it with somebody. If this conversation is the kind of conversation or dialogue that you think more people should hear about, please direct people to the website, letspodthis.com, and just send a text. Send them this episode and say, hey, I think you might really enjoy listening to this. We'll be back next week. Emily will be out of town. I think I'm going to save the education topic for next week and
smart.
see if I can get
Yeah.
someone from OEA or someone on to help
You're so smart.
give us some inside information on that. 'Cause that
Perfect.
is an issue that I think we need to be paying
I agree.
very close attention to as we go into the August election, where there'll be a very consequential election for state superintendent.
Yep.
All right, listeners, if you're not already convicted, let me remind you that decisions are made by those who show up. The next election is August 25th. We'll see you there.